started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in 2008, just while I was matriculating at high school. And the main reason I got into Jiu-Jitsu was I had a very unhealthy lifestyle, too much partying, got led in the wrong direction. And one of my friends said to me, come do some Jiu-Jitsu. It will help keep you fit and get you out of the party scene. So I got into it, and I wasn't able to stop. I was kind of hooked. Thereafter, I got into the mixed martial arts side of things. The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu scene wasn't very pure. Back then, we didn't have proper Brazilians here. So the style and the art that I got taught was very watered down. And it took me a long time to find my fundamentals. And after maybe 3 or 4 MMA fights, I joined up with David Aguion at Gracie Barra in Glen Hazel. And once I'd started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I actually gave up my dream of MMA, and I just wanted to focus on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I found it a much more pure martial arts and something I could really use my creativity, my analytical thinking, and I started teaching kids. Yeah, that was about 7, 8 years ago now. I'd just been awarded my blue belt, and at the time I was battling to cover my fees. So I asked Professor David, is there any way I could help out at the gym? And he said to me if I'm interested in teaching kids. So I said, yes, absolutely. I'd never thought about it, but if it would cover my fees, I was more than happy. So I started teaching kids, and I actually found quite a passion for that. And that was about 7 years ago in Glen Hazel. We moved to Illovo. I've continued teaching ever since Glen Hazel, and I've had students that were 4 years old when they started, and they're now 10 years old. So yeah, that's basically become my main role in GBI, is heading up the kids program. Okay, so my favorite style in Jiu-Jitsu is difficult to determine. I love no-gi. I started in no-gi. You know, the whole MMA scene was no-gi, so I find a lot of my attributes fall back to no-gi. Although I've spent majority of my time, especially with Professor Yaron, fixing my gi game and bettering my gi game. So I feel like both are actually my favorite at this stage. The whole leg lock game, from Mr. Danaher to Lachlan Giles, that's really fascinating. And then Professor Romulo Bahal, his whole knee cut game in the gi, I absolutely love it. Hodja Gracie's pressure style, it's difficult to make a favorite. My favorite submission from top and bottom is the triangle. I love the triangle. I tend to find it from various positions, from guard, half guard, from top position, side control, mount, from the back. It's just a very diverse submission. And if you've got kind of long legs, it falls in. My favorite thing about being a Jiu-Jitsu player is it's a forever evolving sport and concept. You can never learn all of the techniques in Jiu-Jitsu. Once you feel like you've gotten to a certain level and you start to develop a slight ego, subconsciously even, you just get annihilated by, let's say, a white belt or blue belt on the mat who humbles you and brings you back to the basics, and you have to sort of go back to the drawing board. Okay, let me see where I went wrong and fix these techniques. So it's not a sport that you can complete. It's a very sort of diverse, monotonous game. Jiu-Jitsu as a whole in South Africa is still a very developing and emerging sport. If you look at Brazil, on any given time, you've got possibly 10 to 20 black belts on the mat, and we've possibly got 1 or 2. So, you know, it's going to take a long time for us to catch up to that level of Jiu-Jitsu. Although with guys like Professor Yaron and some of the other black belts that are emerging from the country, it's helping spread the knowledge of the sport without watering it down, as we saw in the past. In the past, we learned techniques that came straight from YouTube, very watered down, and it took us a long time it took me 3 years to get my blue belt, whereas students these days are taking a year to get their blue belts because they're getting a much finer, refined, pure Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So Gracie Barra Illovo started from a place of giving. Somebody provided this space for us because they wanted to enlighten the community and give back to the community. And we want to continue with that dream. We want to give back to the future generations for people walking on the streets, for average, everyday people, ladies, self-defense, men, self-defense, whether it's through confidence, through techniques, through fitness. There's just so many goals that we can help people achieve. And you know, the future is the students, the kids department, and it's looking very bright at the moment. We've got by far the best athletes in Africa. And not only that, we've got a underprivileged program that Coach Bradley's heading up in Soweto, and we're constantly taking on sort of pro bono cases to try and spread the knowledge of Jiu-Jitsu and enlighten the community. We want this to be one of the biggest sports in South Africa, and we believe it can be. So that's kind of where we're going with this.